Hello everyone, this is Dr. Geri Puleo, and I'd like to welcome you to this webinar on residual burnout, the silent trap that keeps you burned out. Now, the idea of residual burnout is something that I discovered when I conducted research on burnout during organizational change. And what this resulted in was a model called the BDOC model, which stands for Burnout During Organizational Change. Now, the BDOC model shows that the descent into burnout is rather quick. Basically, people start out with high feelings of hope and optimism, and then because of things that are going on in their environment or because of their own thwarted expectations, they start descending into frustration, then anger, then apathy, until they're fully burned out. But what we're going to be talking about today in terms of residual burnout is the recovery from burnout. So once someone is burned out, they then normally either physically or psychologically remove themselves from whatever was triggering their burnout. After that, they gain self-knowledge and acceptance and an understanding of what happened so that the outcome of all of this is a revised psychological contract with the employer. And what that basically means is that your expectations on what you will give and what you expect in receipt of those contributions to the organization has changed. Once that is created, then you've recovered from burnout. But here's the problem. Residual burnout is looming. As you can see in this diagram of the BDOC model, any time during the recovery from burnout, you can move back into what is called residual burnout. And what causes that is anything that triggers those feelings of burnout that you experienced. Now, recovery takes about 2 years to accomplish. So from the time that you burn out to the time that you revise your expectations of what you will and will not give in the workplace, as well as what you expect from an employer, has changed. And when that changes, you've fully recovered from burnout. But the problem here is that as you're trying to move out of burnout, things can trigger you so that you end up going right back into either a full-blown burnout or any of the feelings of frustration, anger, and apathy that were associated with your burnout. So how do you prevent residual burnout? As I said, residual burnout occurs when you're trying to come out of the burnout that you experienced. What you need to do is understand your burnout triggers. Now, you're particularly susceptible to residual burnout or another bout of burnout when you're first coming out of the burnout cycle, which is when you physically or psychologically remove yourself from that situation. The problem, though, is the mere act of physically or psychologically removing yourself isn't enough to prevent burnout from reoccurring. This is why you have to gain self-knowledge and acceptance of what happened so that you can change what you expect in the future. So what do you need to do? You need to understand your burnout triggers. And there's 3 categories. First of all, what organizational events specifically caused burnout in you in the past? This can be anything from a lack of resources by the organization, so you were asked to do more with less. It could even be a climate of uh, dysfunctional politics or sabotage. It could also be just a simple lack of caring by your leaders or your managers. It can even be pure, unadulterated work overload. You need to understand which of these organizational events triggered your burnout in the past, because if they show up when you're trying to recover from burnout, you're very likely to go right back into feelings of frustration, anger, apathy, and burnout. The other thing you need to do is understand you. This is the self-knowledge. What of your own personal habits or beliefs or assumptions contributed to your feelings of burnout? For example, are you a perfectionist? Do you have a fear of failing? What about do you have an inability to create boundaries, to be able to say no to other people's requests? Any of those things can contribute into the burnout cycle. And finally, you need to understand your body. Your body will never lie to you in terms of what you're feeling. So, what are your physical symptoms that indicate that you may be going right back into those feelings of burnout? Are you fatigued and exhausted? Are you having sleep problems? All of a sudden you're waking up at 2:30 in the morning. What about gastrointestinal problems? Suddenly the bottle of Tums has become your friend. Whatever it is, you need to understand what your burnout triggers are so that when you're attempting to recover from burnout, you are hyper vigilant. And if you see any of those things, you need to take immediate action so that you don't fall back into another bout of burnout.